Hello, Booktooth. Here I am, finally, with continuing the reading along of The Name of the Rose. As you can see, I'm back in the north. I'm in Galicia right now, which is part of the place where I grew up, and the most beautiful place in Europe. I am coming from Morocco. I'm sorry I didn't do the last Friday. I have an accomplice in that. Randy also wasn't able to keep up with the reading, so neither of us did anything last Friday, I believe, which is good, you know, like if you're gonna fail, at least fail as a team. But now I'm back. Now I'm finally in a place where I can sit and read. I'm not in the desert, I'm not in the Atlas Mountains, I am not surfing in the shoreline of Morocco, and I am also not in the middle of an earthquake. I've gone through all of that. It's been amazing. I probably will move to Morocco during the winter, potentially. Now that I went through the beaten paths and found some other places that are desertic as I wanted. I am definitely going back there, but if I go back there, it will be not anymore as a traveler, and more as a resident. I don't ever, like, this might be the first and last time that you see me travel like this. I don't travel, I emigrate. I don't like traveling for periods that are shorter than 3 months to any country, because I don't believe that pretty much any country can be known in that amount of time. And I hate the category of tourist. And although I am never a tourist when I travel, when I go for short periods of time to certain places, I definitely have to do some funambulism between those two things. And when you travel for less than 3 months, you're really traveling for like queuing, for pain, for being scammed, for many things that, unless you're a very experienced traveler, you have to suffer. Luckily enough, I am a very experienced traveler, and within a few days I can very much get into the depths of a city that people who live there often ignores. But that's nothing compared to what I can get to know and experience when I live in a place for a few months or a few years. Not to mention that, of course, in order to achieve that, in order to be able to get lost in the right kind of place, I have to find it, and that eats away my reading time, which is what happened. So no more of that for a few months. Now it's just gonna be reading a lot of philosophy, because it's my last year in uni, and I'm not gonna be talking too much about philosophy here, don't be afraid, but also reading for I'm not gonna say for fun, because philosophy, I read philosophy for fun, no matter what Steve Donoghue says. But yeah, okay, The Name of the Rose. What's up? So like, I had finished day one, or I was about to finish day one, like 2 weeks ago, and then I just started again and read day one again, because I lost track. It's fascinating. At this point, there's a few deaths that have happened. It's particularly interesting, the death of Adelmo, which Guillermo and Atso, you know, the two companions that are sort of like studying this case. Guillermo is the sort of like wise old man that has seen and tried many things that are even not allowed by the Inquisition. And Atso is sort of like the young, the young companion that is learning, and that is also the writer of this book within the narrative. Adelmo is fascinated with Guillermo and with reason, because Guillermo has a clinical mind, is miles away in terms of wisdom from any other character in this book so far. And there's also another interesting character, which is the bookkeeper from the library. I don't know if bookkeeper would be the right the right name for him, but basically this old blind man that knows his way around the whole library, that knows its dark spots and everything, and who passionately hates things like irony, fiction, and many of the books that are stored there. There are very interesting conversations. This book is filled with bibliographical Easter eggs, references, hidden references, some Latin. There are many things here for academics, and I only catch some of them, and I think that if you are reading this book and not studying this book, it's not as interesting. So I'm not going to give any attention to them, because they will require more time than I have, and more time than the reading of the book and the enjoyment of the book requires, which is all I'm looking for in this first reading time. If when I finish it I love it, maybe someday I'll go back to it and I'll do like a close page by page study of the text. But Umberto Eco is one of the deepest and most widely read, not necessarily widely read, but one of the readers, one of the top readers of our time. And this man whose name I can't remember now, fuck, I forgot the name. Yeah, well, the old blind man, let's call him the bookkeeper, both things at the same time. It seems to be inspired in Borges, who has a lot in common with Umberto Eco in terms of his potential as a reader. I think both of them are more famous for being readers than writers, in my opinion. Although both of them were incredible writers, and I can even see certain parallels, certain similarities between this book and some stories written by Borges. So I'm definitely sure that there was a conscious reference to Borges when he was writing that character. Although Borges was not, he was conservative in the political but not in the literary. And this character, who's for me already a nemesis, who hates the writing of fiction. These conversations happen as Guillermo and Aroso try to investigate deeper and deeper and get into the library, which is not allowed, to find out who's causing these murders, these deaths, not necessarily murders. They find themselves confronted by this man who believes that fantasy, fiction are lies, and that lies misguide good Christians from the path of truth. He talks with with hate, of course, but also with almost desire of the library and of those shapes and those ever-turning snakes and all those birds that fly with no wings, and it's full of metaphors, and it's full of fascination for the things he hates, as often happens with people who passionately hates a subject. Often has a lot of that subject in him, or is trying to fight a desire that he finds within himself and that his own prejudices or reason rejects. And I think I see a lot of this there, and that's what leads me to believe that this man is somehow involved, although he's blind. He's somehow involved in the structure, not in the structure, but like in the making of this mystery, of this series of deaths that again are not necessarily murders, but they might have in fact been still altered by foreign hands. What I mean is, for example, In the case of Adelmo that fell off the tower, probably causing, like, probably by suicide, and then fell further during the storm that with the strong winds. That's what Guillermo believes, that because that hypothesis makes him not have to rely on like additional people pushing him down or anything like that. Guillermo is very skeptical. He has a very clinical mind, as I said. But then there is another death, and this is at the beginning of the issue, that in which the cadaver has clearly been moved around, and this shows that although maybe people is not killing this, maybe there is not an actual serial killer or anything like that, which there might be because there's a lot of deaths happening. There is definitely someone who's aware of them and who's manipulating the cadavers to send symbolical, subliminal messages. Most of these messages tend to move the cadavers away from the library and to almost try to incite a certain feeling of like biblical punishment or apocalyptic coming or anything like that. So those are that's basically where we are at right now. I'm gonna keep reading a little bit, and I'll try to talk more into one of the subjects that are discussed about here, because the digressions in this book are not important for the narrative, but in a sense just as important for the writer of the book as which shouldn't matter, but it does matter to me, as the narrative itself. All of those symbols, all of those discussions that don't seem to lead anywhere, often do lead to places, and often can lead you to conclusions. I know how the book ends, so I have already seen in those discussions enough information for someone to connect what's happening at the beginning of the book with the very end of the conclusion. So those digressions do give clues about the whole narrative, even if they are digressions and not necessary. But it's very fun because it feels like a puzzle. The writing itself is very mechanical, very methodical. It's building work, but not in maybe not in the most intense, fluid, narratively sense possible. I enjoy it because I enjoy Umberto Eco's writing, even when it's not literary. But yeah, like, I understand that it can put people down. I encourage you to continue reading with me, if anyone is. And I look forward to see what Randy has to say about this book. I might make another video soon, before next Friday, to make up for the previous Friday, if I find enough material and time. I'll soon be on the move again, and I'll keep you updated on that as well. Have a good day.